always use the bar. Amber seat program. So this truck was built quite a while back. I want to say early 2000s. To me, that just feels like a yesteryear, but it is technically a while back. So the seat program in here was originally a suspension style seat, like a Corbeau or a Beard or any of the manufacturers, where it's just that real basic bucket suspension seat. And that's just not the program anymore. So been fortunate enough to work with PRP, and this definitely, that's the seat that we want to have in here. So I am running a new Bravo seat. It's a composite seat, meaning it's a shell seat. If you go and you look on TerraCrew, you can watch their PRP composite versus suspension seat episode and kind of get some information off that. But right now I'm just going to cover our seat package and the plan and go over the details of the seat and the harness. The interior of this thing it's not bad. We're gonna add a lot more tubes, so bear with me on that, but that's for a whole nother episode. And that will be something that'll happen before we actually install the seats. But this is a true 4-seat car. So that means we will have, you know, real sized adult seats, front and rear. The rear will be a little more packaged together. So you might like be sharing, you know, elbows or shoulders. And the front will be on, so these are factory forward actuators. I guess you wouldn't call them actuators, factory forward seat adjusters. So they're like a 7-way thing. So they, you know, tilt up, down, forward, rearward. And I'm going to retain these just to have that option, and they're sturdy and I'm okay with them. Like I mentioned before, this whole thing's gonna get upholstery. I'm gonna take care of all the upholstery before I do any exterior treatments. So it'll look kind of roached out and ratty on the outside, and when you open this thing, it will be completely upholstered. And mark my words, I mean completely upholstered. So these are PRP brackets for the composite seat. There's obviously a set of 4, so 8 of these total. They're adjustable in their own sense as far as your bottom mounting surface and your side mounting surface, so you can put some angle or take angle out on these depending on like what you're mounting them to. It's just a real standardized mount. It's easy, it works. So those will just go on. We'll figure out where square is on this and what's our preference. I mean, obviously I'd like to get these things cleaned up first, probably pop the hot rolled angle iron off of them and do something more favorable like chromoly plate. So we will retrofit these, clean them up. I'll probably repaint them, make sure all the wiring's good first and everything actually works before we just go and put them in. But you can tell that's like a OG Ford style adjuster. And I'm very familiar with those. So we'll just put those somewhere tasteful. And like I said, it's not full bougie luxury pre-owner. I just want this thing to be a comfortable, safe, fast machine for the family. So I want to kind of cover the seats, and then what we'll do is we'll go over them, and then we'll put them in here and kind of just get a sense of what they'll look like in here and go from there. So this is I can even go down here, PRP Bravo seat. So they have the Alpha and they have the Bravo. The Alpha is like more of a race style thing. It's a little tighter, slimmer, taller. The Bravo is a more spread out seat. It feels more comfortable to me. That's why I did it, out of comfort. James' truck has the Alphas in there, and they're a little more aggressive with like the bolstering as well. This thing is color matched to the truck. So once this thing has its clear on here, it's gonna pop a little differently, but the stitching was specifically color matched for the truck. I gave them samples and they stitched it like that. Super cool that it can do your logo in there. And that's the thing with PRP. They offer like so many different options for stuff, and I like to keep this a little more refined, especially for this truck. it is still just a old Explorer. So if I went super crazy on like the patterns or the stitching on here, it would just be a little too much for my liking. Obviously the sky's the limit, but this is a composite seat or a shell seat. I like to call them a shell seat, and you can see obviously like it's a composite shell. You know, it's a FIA approved situation here. Obviously you have your mounting threaded areas with bolts in there for your mounting surface. And it's just real simple. This thing comes off if you need to like wash it or clean it. And then this bottom seat and the back come off really easy, just Velcro style. So got options there. I also have boosters for the rear, so I can have little Logan in there on a booster seat. Same with this back. So they're very simple. They're, like I said, they're not suspension seats, they are shell seats. I just go to Terra Crew, check out, we'll put a link for the PRP episode to talk about those seats, but this is a preference for me and all the vehicles we build. So I want to put these in the car and look at them and kind of get a feel for the space after we put them in. Cool. Seats are, you know, I took measurements before I got these things ordered, and they're right where they need to be. I think just for my own comfort, I might want to trim a little bit of the sheet metal that's already in here. I mean, this is obviously going to be modified to an extent. Verifying where the tubes are going to go, that all feels good. This thing feels, it's cozy and it's okay. Like I can feel this. I think I'm going to need to, it's setting on the tabs right now. So if I get like another inch down out of this thing, I'm happy. But I'm totally good on the placement back here. It's gonna be, it's, you know, once they're in here, it's gonna look like they're tailored to fit in this little space here. So I'm gonna set these on some 4x4s just to have them for mock-up. And then I'm gonna grab the front guys and put them in as well. But it feels good back here. It's spacious, but I'm sure once we add the tubes, especially to like the side here where the shock mounts are, to the B-pillar and the whole like cross section here with diagonals, it's going to get a little more filled in, and then especially with putting, you know, a driver and passenger front seat in it, it's going to fill in. But I like this. I mean, the room feels a lot better than extra cab trucks that I've been in. So I want to make sure that we can fit 2 full-size adults back here. This is not for just like kids or something. I want this thing to be a true 4-seater. So let's put the fronts in. All 4 seats are in. I think the plan, if I can, like, is to do some kind of theater style mounting where the rear seats are a little higher than the front. And I know the fronts are adjustable, but just get these set up in, you know, in a general position where I'm comfortable, and maybe Taylor, my chick, is comfortable in the driver's seat, and then set the rears where they're just a little higher, given the appropriate headroom. Just so you have kind of a better line, you know, a cone of vision going through and being able to see over the front seaters. So I'm just gonna get in here and kind of test this guy out. I mean, the seats are just chilling, but super comfy. I'd probably even have to scoot this forward just because of where I'm at. I don't like to have my arms like super straight. I'd rather have them kind of cocked at an angle. But I mean, they're comfy. Everything feels good. I just have a lot of leg room to move forward, which is a good thing for the rear guys. But overall, these things are perfect. Like I said, I want to have this thing upholstered. I've never had a vehicle like upholstered really nice. I've just kind of had whatever factory stuff, and then when you cage it, never get a headliner. Always have like missing trim panels. So with this guy, I want to be able to cover the dash, stitch everything, do carpet, get as much of the cage covered as we can, upholster the door panels, and then do like a really nice headliner. So this gives us a good idea of the seating in here and the architecture, the proportions of the interior. Obviously you can see the back seats are a little higher right now. I don't know exactly where that's gonna pan out, but that's what I'd like to go for. Everything as far as packaging feels good. It just feels like a Ranger when you're sitting in the front here. And it's actually really comfortable. So we will have like I said, the tube work is the big ticket here for this. I want to get the whole chassis strengthened properly before we move into some of this stuff. The A-pillar, it'll have a secondary A-pillar tube that'll come from this junction and it'll go down to the lower floorboard junction. Nastier door bars, front and rear. Obviously big diagonal cross sections on the B-pillar and the C-pillar area. And the back seats do need to be mounted before we go into the structure back there and start building on it, just because there's constraints for headroom and seat room that need to be addressed. So one of the issues I might have mentioned before is that we need to get the rear seats mounted and configured where we want them, particularly because this top C-pillar tube. The radiator that we're putting in is a really large unit that's going to be on a diagonal that's going to take up most of the packaging, like in the rear. We're going to keep the rear hatch, but there will be significant ducting up top and exit ducting out of the back windows. So this tube probably needs to go. Reconfigure it with a kick going back, and then have, you know, the diagonal structure. The whole thing that I noticed with this cage is there's no diagonals, like there's no wall diagonals on the B pillar or on the C pillar. So I'm gonna wanna reconfigure this stuff before we put the cooler in, but before we do that, we need to make sure that we account for the seats. So the rear seats will definitely need to go in and be in the, you know, their permanent home. And then look at what we got here for headroom, package in the headroom, and then package the radiator, because the most important thing is going to be where the headroom is here. The diagonal tubes will probably have to have like some sort of a bend in them, which is fine, but it's definitely a crucial part to the packaging here is having this in first. So ever since I was younger, when I was 16, I had a 91 Ford Explorer 4-door pre-runner. For my birthday, I wanted to get glass and seats. It was like my upgrade, and I don't think it needed glass in the front, but it sure looked cool to me then. And it needed seats. It had, when I bought it, it had like a cradle that was specific for suspension seats in the front, and I just didn't have them, so it was off. So I had the stock seats, took them out, went to Solo Motorsports, talked to Bobby, and he set me up with some Hanneman fiberglass and set me up with 2 PRP suspension seats. And I absolutely felt like it was a game changer, and that was like the shit to me. I had PRP seats in there. I didn't have like a different brand or something cheaper. Super stoked on it. And so now, like, it's really cool to come full circle here and work with a company like PRP, and I appreciate you guys. We're using PRP stuff on James' truck and also on Amber and several other vehicles in the shop. But it's, you know, there's a huge product line. There's a lot more stuff I got for James' truck as far as like accessories and bags and tool bags, window nets. It's a wide line of products. So I'm excited to break the ice with Amber with this stuff, and we'll probably be running a couple more of their products throughout, but this is a good start. So hope you guys enjoy. Leave some comments below if you have any questions. You see something in there, you see some spooky fab work you want me to address, we can do that too. And enjoy. My stuff gets this treatment. Put it in the back, put it up top, put it out of the way. It would just be a fall, you know? I don't think it'll be a die. It'll just be a rough fall. I'm gonna probably make things that were together go apart. Put it up on the pallet racks, they said. The lights do not come down. The lights never come down. There we go, dude. Professional pretending.